go down to Keston, just south of Bromley, strong artesian weather. That's where Caesar had his camps, and that's where the old Celtic fortifications were.
Okay.
And then they go south. There's a series of Celtic fortifications going through what were the old marshlands that the Romans never conquered because it was too much marsh. But there was a series of Celtic fortifications. The Romans went around Sussex and they came in from another route through the high ground. But they came and they had their camps by the strong wells. You know. So the question about B12 is you'll find it abundant if you eat seaweed, stuff from the oceans, you'll get the B12. If you drink live water, you can get the B12. Even if you forage food, it's within the earth because it's a bacteria, and it's not just within the earth, it's in the sort of like a foot or so above. So if you're eating nettles, you're foraging food from the wild. But you won't get it in the monoculture fields, you know,
you talk about monoculture, but you probably don't realize how everyone is dependent on this monoculture which you talk about.
Yeah, but we can always
to completely discard that and start going to the forest to do your nature calls and to start go to Wimbledon or wherever to get your water.
You know the National Trust, yeah? Can you think of a more conservative body than the National Trust in the UK?
No idea.
They own a lot of land.
Yeah, they do.
They own a lot of the buildings. Just down the road from us, right, Sissinghurst, they get something like 300,000 visitors a year.
Right.
They're doing permaculture, no dig method. Yeah. They're getting 6.6 tons of food in what's considered a hippie way of growing. So they don't use the plough, they just imitate nature, they put mulch on the top. The earthworms do a very good job of dragging it down. There's no need for fertilising. Last summer, they didn't water it once because you're covering the soil, so there's no evaporation. And
so that's what I'm telling you, the current system, whatever you want to call it, why don't we improve that rather than creating these alternate systems? Why reinvent the wheel altogether?
Well, you know what? The National Trust, we were on their land one time, and the manager said, look, you're doing a better job than us of our remit, of getting people from the inner city to come and appreciate the nature.
Yeah, why not?
You know, but
I mean, I'm all for that.
I'm sorry you've got to go. But we have the Chief Inspector of Police sat in a circle with us saying, I wish we had this tool in our office. You know, and we had policemen coming up with helmets full of vegetables from their gardens. And they chose a guy who was like, taught martial arts to the police, and he had an interest in the esoteric aspects of martial arts. And this guy who was Scottish but had an interest in ley lines, you know, and they sent the people who thought would, you know, and when we got evicted, they went, because we still had a week or two, we went through the legal process, the bailiffs arrived and said, okay, non-violent, we're on our way, you know, you can help us carry our stuff. The police acted as ambassadors to the landowners next door and said, look, these guys are no problem, they tidy up after themselves.
Okay.
And you know, they acted as ambassadors. And we've had this time.
So there is a possibility to improve the current system. That's what I'm telling you.
We have
maybe we should put our energies and efforts towards that.
Well, look, the two-pronged thing. One, advocacy based on receptivity, but the second, non-violent, direct action, targeting not individuals but the system, not even the leaders, the system.
How do you mean targeting? In what way?
Well, so for example, Extinction Rebellion, which is this group that I've initiated inviting down here to Speaker's Corner in 2 weeks' time. So we're going to come down here. We shut down 5 bridges in central London. I don't know if you heard about that. So in the autumn time, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 hippies came and sat down, 100 arrests, and then we did some swarming. And it's like, well, we can do this non-direct action, and if we can choose our targets. Like some hippie guy who was at Greenham Common, so I've been practicing non-direct action since I was 14. He's now like 60. He was saying,
so hippies shutting down 5 bridges. What did that achieve?
Well, exactly. This was his question. He said, it sounds like a publicity stunt to me. If you actually want to exert pressure upon the system, you have to shut down the port.
So it's kind of a protest, is what you're saying?
Yeah, the same thing I was saying with regard to, I do the saves. We're bearing witness to the animals before they go in the slaughterhouse. To make the connection with the animal, right? It's like to make the connection.
Right.
So the next thing is, okay, I was telling him, the hippie guy, I was saying, okay, so we're going to go into the factory farms. There's one thing to peer through the slats of a trailer and just get eye contact with the pig. But it's another thing to sit in the environment of that animal in a factory farm inside where the pigs don't, 95% of pigs don't see the light of day, and they're gas chambered, they're put in gas chambers, not quick death. We sit in that environment for maybe 5-6 hours, 60 people inside, 60 people outside. My hippie friend says, well, you're not applying any economic pressure on them. They're not bothered. You might take one animal out as a stunt, as a social media thing, but you're not actually applying economic pressure. So his thing would be the same way that Extinction Rebellion would shut down ports. As if you're doing that for the animals, then you go to the abattoir, because that's the point where the economic pressure is, because you've got the timing is crucial. In the same way at the ports, timing is good, and the blocking of the
One more question. What is your view with regards to keeping pets?
Yeah, well, the film that influenced the new wave of young, non-violent direct activists, because a lot of the animal rights people have got this reputation of haranguing individuals. Well, the young millennials, they're all about, we've got to be disciplined and not target individuals. We either engage in receptive advocacy, or, but I'm getting to that, the Earthlings film, right? Or we target systems. So this young generation have been influenced by this film called Earthlings. Yeah? So you can watch it, it's quite a dark film, but there's 5 chapters. One is around the food industry, one is around sports, racing, greyhound racing, horse racing. One is around circuses, entertainment, whatever. And another one is around pets, and then the other one is the medical, pharmaceutical experimentation. But one whole chapter is on pets.
What is your view?
Well, it's basically an exploitative system, the buying and selling, and this is the abolitionist approach, is that the making the profit off a sentient being is where the problem is.
Without that, let's say without that. Let's say you go,
there was no profit.
Let's say if there's no profit involved and you just wanted to keep a dog or a cat.
Well, the thing is, in my household, and I've come round to it, I never would have done 4 or 5 years ago, before the birth of our latest child.
Okay.
But we've got some rescue guinea pigs, because I see the value of the children connecting with those animals in a different way to what we do on the TV, or the fact that 3 million animals are killed every day in the UK, and we don't see any of it. That's the other relationship.
So if let's say your daughter or your son wanted a dog or a cat, would you allow them?
They've got a cat.
They do?
It wasn't my decision.
Okay.
So I don't feed it. I appreciate it, but it catches a lot of mice. It doesn't really catch birds. But I recognise that it's an animal.
What if it doesn't have any mice to catch? What then?
No, it is fed. That's what I'm saying.
Fed by whom?
It's fed. Like a lot of vegans will even give cats vegan food.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Don't you think that's abusing the animal?
Well, you see,
so the very people who are saying we should take care of animal welfare,
I'll tell you what,
and now involved in abusing the animals.
Dogs do very well off a vegan diet.
Come on! Don't tell me the dogs are meant to eat.
I've seen vegan dogs of the same type next to each other, and they're more lively than the other dogs.
You see,
when it comes to cats,
be honest with me and tell me, are dogs and cats born to be vegan?
When it just because I'm not into this big the main thing with vegans is they will take on rescue animals.
No, but I'm talking about a pet. Look, there are many vegans and many vegetarians out there who have dogs and cats as their pets.
Yeah.
Now, if anybody forces a dog or a cat, or rather, how would I say, orients them in a way that they have nothing to eat, either they die or they have a vegan meal. Obviously, the dog or the cat is going to eat something, to keep itself alive. Because at the end of the day, it is for their survival. But if anyone does not give them the option to eat the real diet that they are meant to, would you not consider that to be abuse?
I think that the whole pet industry
Yeah.
should evaporate, and ultimately then the rescue animals would evaporate.
No, but I'm asking you, if a vegan only feeds vegan food to a cat or a dog,
Yeah.
yes, would you not consider that to be abuse?
Well, dogs have been shown to adapt a lot better.
I'm not asking you what it will do once it eats vegan food. I'm asking you the very option that is given, the only option is given is vegan food. Do you consider that to be abuse of the animal?
Yeah, I think there's levels, isn't there? There's levels of abuse. I mean, because I'm immediately thinking of the abuse of those animals.
It's not their staple diet. Let's put it that way.
That's in the dog or cat feed. You know?
Yeah, it's not their staple diet.
And they've been, slaughtered.
Come on, we are not talking about the slaughtering.
So I think
we are talking about the cat
animals.
and a dog as a pet.
Yeah, so I
and
think,
if a dog and a
about
cat,
those other animals as well.
No,
it's
but
like,
you see, one thing I've noticed is that whenever I ask you a question, you somehow kind of, I don't know, either you knowingly do this, or maybe you have been trained in your interviews to do this.
I don't feel happy in their situation. I think cats should
Why don't you just say that is abuse? Because it's clearly abuse.
You know what I was saying about the sovereignty of community? I think the same for the animals. I read to my daughter, Uncle Tom's Cabin. And the main point thrust of that book was that it doesn't matter if you're from a high welfare slave plantation or from a brutal plantation. The biggest cause of suffering was the separation of the mother from the child, of the splitting of the community. And I feel the same for the animals. They've got their natural grouping, which we've separated them from, and that in itself is a cause of suffering.
You see, you have completely neglected the question I asked you.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing that deliberately.
Well, I think it's
you should look.
Do you want to know about our cat?
No, I want to know your view about this vegan guy forcing his cat or a dog to eat only vegan food. Would you not consider that as abuse? And if yes, tell me why. If no, tell me why.
So, with the dogs that I've seen, no. And I'll tell you why. The dog identifies with the family as a pet.
I think.
And I don't think that's a natural situation.
This is where,
I'm not saying that's a natural situation.
You have been doing really well so far.
So can I just say with the...
with all due respect, you have been doing really well so far.
Yeah.
When it came to this particular topic, I don't think you've been fair. Because to feed a dog or a cat vegan food when you know that is not the staple diet, to me that constitutes abuse.
Well, I think they should be in their natural environment.
And they should be fed. Their natural environment is not vegan. Do you agree?
Yeah, but the animals.
Do you agree?
The animal food that's going to be fed.
Do you agree that natural environment, like you said, catching mice?
Yeah, I think the
it's
dogs,
not vegan.
In America,
this is what I don't like.
In America, they have dog camps.
One thing I don't like is people when they know something is wrong, then they should actually be brave enough to say it's wrong.
So,
and you have been brave enough to say it's wrong in many things except this scenario.
With regard
and you have not been fair.
With regard to the rainbow gatherings, do you remember what I said?
What?
Free from alcohol, drugs, technology, and domestic animals. Okay.
Okay. So maybe no pets in your case.
Within the rainbow gathering.
Yeah, but at least you should call out those people who are feeding dogs and cats vegan food when that is not the staple diet.
Well, I wouldn't do that because
why?
Because
they would go against you then?
They see the alternative is giving them animals that have been bred, in a highly distressing situation.
So what do you do? So what do you do? You feed them vegan food?
Well, I think
seriously,
for me, what Rainbow do with regard to the animals is in America they have dog camp so that the dogs can be with the dogs. The reason why we don't have, or we invite people not to bring their animals, if a dog comes into an environment and there's lots of new people coming all the time, the dog is going to be concerned. It's concerned. Very oftentimes it will bark. It's not happy. It wants to know it's packed.
Come on. If a
also,
dog.
The human.
Look.
Is not
let
happy.
me ask you this: if a dog doesn't get any food and the only food you put in front of it is vegan food, it's obviously going to eat only vegan food. If you don't consider that as abuse, then I don't know what is abuse.
But this is what I'm saying. There's dog camp.
Let's be fair.
There's dog camp.
Let's be fair. That is abuse.
There's a precedent.
Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter how you twist it. To me, that is abuse. Okay, and you should acknowledge that.
Well, I think the abuse.
You're an intelligent person.
What are you going to feed them?
You're going to feed them what they eat. That's staple food.
We'll let them go out and hunt.
Either that, or don't keep them as pets.
The idea would be to let them go out and hunt.
No, exactly. All I'm saying is, if you want to keep them as pets, then at least respect their staple food.
Well, that's
if you don't want them as pets, then that is a different thing.
For me, that's why I don't want to go into the whole personal.
But at least that
pet ownership thing.
You see,
that's
maybe
why I'm not involved in it.
No. Whether you're involved or not, you should call it out. If somebody is abusing the animal, then you should look at all animal welfare and only not the ones that basically somehow
this is where
it's within your narrative.
For example, I was in the Pyrenees. I was up in the Hyde mountains, and I saw the integrity of the herd of goats. I saw they were free to roam, and for me that's joy. I live, where I live in the sticks. I see the dairy calves. They're dehorned, they're castrated, and they spend their whole time joyless in a barn over winter, hard standing, and they're just standing there. And then they spend a little time, on the pasture.
Yeah, but that is something
what is that? That's not.
I'm not talking about that.
Life.
I'm talking about.
That's the separation.
Look,
of
when something is wrong, then you should be brave enough to say it's wrong.
So you see the animals in the natural
what
environment.
What I saw just now.
They have that joy of life.
What I saw just now is you being selective in your welfare of the animals.
Yeah, well. Yeah,
instead of you saying clearly that those people exactly my point. Then why is it not abuse to force them to be herbivores?
Because it's shown that they're okay. It's shown that they're okay. It's not an ideal situation.
If I tell you to leave a child, by itself without any social life or something, hear me out.
This strange.
Hear me out. If you put a child in a room and maybe only give it video games, it might seem okay to you. But you really don't know what's happening to the psychology, to the person, So what seems okay to you for a dog, maybe because you don't speak dog language.
Well, I think dogs should be with other dogs. That's what I see. They've got pack.
Dogs should be eating what is their stable food.
They should be
pack. And anyone who forces them to eat only vegan food, they're abusing the animals.
They should be the pack.
Do you agree they're abusing the animals?
Do you agree they should be with the pack?
I think if they're a pet.
A pack.
Yeah, they should be in the natural habitat.
Like the cows should be with the herd.
Okay, so I've agreed. Now, do you agree that it is abuse to feed an animal that is carnivorous to feed them?
Yeah, that's why I don't have a pet. That's why I never.
But do you agree that is an abuse?
We've got rescue guinea pigs.
Do you agree
I agreed to having the rescue guinea pigs.
Do you agree that's abuse?
I think, the dogs, ideally, they should be able to hunt for themselves. And like I say, the cat is out, it's hunting.
Okay. So do you agree those people who keep dogs and pets as pets and feed it only vegan food is abuse?
I feel, it makes me feel uncomfortable, to be honest.
Just say it's abuse. Why don't you say it?
No, because
you're very open about. You're very.
Label people
why?
As abusers.
Why not? Why not? If they're abusing, okay. So let me ask you something. Those people who abuse, who basically send children to work. They're abusing the children. Would you not label them as child abuse?
Okay, look. So if we take the situation, like Monkey World. Do you know about Monkey World?
What about Monkey World?
Do you know about Monkey World?
I don't think I know about Monkey World.
Right. So there's lots of primates that have been experimented on and have been kept in tiny little cages. Okay. Now Monkey World is a place that's taken them out of those torturous institutions and tried to give them a life.
Was that abuse?
What, the torture? Yeah, so when you smash a primate's head 25 miles an hour against a brick wall to see what the impact is. Yeah, for me that's torture, and that's not necessary.
Is that abuse?
That's abuse.
Would you call them out?
I call them out, yeah.
Would you label them?
Yeah. So
earlier you told me you don't like labeling people.
Well, I don't think it's a good thing. I'm saying I'm not targeting individuals.
I think you're being selective. You're being selective just because the vegans is the vegan people, maybe they identify more with your ideology. That's the reason maybe you don't want to label them. Is that right?
Label who?
The people who are abusing the animals.
No, but I'm talking about the system. It's like, for example,
did you understand the question I asked you?
Is there anyone in an abattoir who's going to enjoy killing animals?
But did you understand the question I asked you?
Do you think the people in the lab?
Did you understand the question I asked you? I'm sure you did. The reason you're not labeling these vegans who abuse the animals by feeding the carnivorous animals the vegan food, you don't want to label them as abusers of animals.
I call them
is because they are the people who might be supporting your cause.
I'd call them out if they bought the pet. Yeah.
So even if they didn't buy the pet, even if they did not
if that
buy the
animal
pet,
was going to die,
doesn't matter.
if the animal was
It
going to
doesn't matter.
die,
Even if they rescued the
and
animal,
they're providing them life,
yeah, even if they rescued the animal, listen, even if they rescued the animal,
I don't want to judge them.
yeah, you see, this is what I mean, selective.
No, it's
Yes,
not
you are.
selective.
You are. I'm sorry
I
to
think
say
it's,
this.
It's clear abuse if you're putting torture on an animal.
No, I'm not talking about torture.
Physical
Abuse
abuse.
comes in many forms.
Physical